Hey everybody, today is June 28th and today we're going to talk about the price of Bitcoin. I want to talk about a bullish divergence that's forming on the daily chart. I also want to talk about the monthly close that's happening in a couple days. And I'm going to also talk about the bigger picture and talk about whether Bitcoin can go to 100,000 by the end of this year or whether we're going to continue this downtrend and plunge into a bear market. Before we begin, please read the disclaimer and you can pause this video as you read it. Okay, so as you probably know, in the last couple months, Bitcoin has basically been in a downtrend, and we've basically been going sideways, but still in a downtrend, right? We look at the line chart, which tracks all the closing, plots all the closing prices. Still in a downtrend, lower high, lower lows. So the question is, what is Bitcoin's next move? Are we finally going to plunge below this 30K support level that we've been holding for the last month, which also we found support back in January, or is this going to hold and are we going to continue up higher, right? Obviously, if you look at this, it does look like a bit of a head and shoulders pattern that is bearish, and that can signal that we can plunge further. But keep in mind that the longer we go sideways, we're actually correcting through time, right? You can correct through price or through time. This was correction through price where we plunged around 50% at the worst, right? I mean, this whole move has been about a 55% drawdown, but right now we're basically going sideways, and it does seem like there's buyers coming in to push the price of Bitcoin higher when it goes below 30,000 or when it gets close to 30,000, right? Like we saw over here and over here. So the question is, where's Bitcoin headed next month in July, right? Is this month are we going to close another red candle next month, or do we have a chance of reversing this bearish trend, right, that we've had in the last 2 to 3 months, right, since April when we started the plunge? And before we talk about this, we have to talk about what exactly foreshadowed this plunge, right? Why did we seemingly look very bullish but then start to reverse the trend, right? And I think that there are a couple of signs you can look at. First is we can look at the volume, right? The volume was declining. We see declining volume, meaning that even though the price was going up higher, there wasn't a lot of buyers coming in and pushing the price higher, right? The second thing, and this is something I've talked about since I started making videos a couple months ago, was the oscillators coming down, right? This is in February. We saw the oscillators, the MACD basically making lower highs, right, before plunging into negative territory. Also, we saw our RSI, right, also coming down, actually earlier than February, since January coming down, right? So we're still in a downtrend, but what happened was the price was going higher, right? And what we have when that happens is a bearish divergence. And that just means that there's not enough conviction from the buyers pushing the price higher, right? Even though the price is going up higher. So this was really ended up being a distribution instead of a reaccumulation period, as I hoped it would be. I made a video about that, so I was wrong about that. This ended up being a distribution period. So the question is this another distribution period before it plunges lower, or is this actually a accumulation period before we go up higher? And will this end up being a mid-cycle top, or will this be the actual top of the cycle, right? And I think that there are hints, again, with the oscillators, right? Because we're making lower highs and lower lows right now, so obviously, in the line chart. But look at the oscillators, right? We look at the oscillators. Let's go back to the candles. Look at the oscillators. We are making higher highs, right? And higher lows on the oscillators. So we're actually in an uptrend now in the oscillators. For the MACD, oops. For the MACD, get this one. The MACD and the RSI, we're in an uptrend, right? So the oscillators are moving up, but the price of Bitcoin is going down. So now we are actually in a bullish divergence, whereas over here, we were in a bearish divergence, right? With the price rising, but the oscillators coming down. Now the oscillators are rising, while the price continues to go down. And so we're in a bullish divergence rather than a bearish divergence. And that just means that even though the price has been going down, there's a lot of buyers stepping in to push the price higher, right? And we can see, if we look at the volume, even though we were in a downtrend in the volume, we're starting to see the volume reverse, right, higher, starting with this huge capitulation sell-off candle and then pushing up higher. And by the way, these huge capitulation candles usually signal, they usually in retrospect will signal a bottom or a top. So you saw a big red candle here, and then we saw the price go up higher, right? So it's possible that this could have been the final capitulation of this drawdown, right, of 55%. And this could be buyers coming in, taking supply off the market before moving the price a lot higher, right? So that's where I'm thinking might happen, especially with this bullish divergence really giving us more confirmation. However, let's look at the bearish case, right? The bearish case is that we are still below this blue line, which is the 200-day simple moving average, right? And I've said many times in previous videos that it's really important that we stay above this blue line, because the 200-day moving average is, for a lot of people, the long-term indicator, right? Especially for institutions. If we keep hanging below there, they're going to keep selling, right? Because institutions, they use that as a strong long-term support indicator. So if you saw in the last bull run from 2015 to 2017, we saw that we stayed above the 200-day, which is this blue line. We did wick below over here back in the summer of 2016, but we didn't close below, right? We came up and we stayed above it until we finally crashed in late 2017, early 2018. So the fact that we're below this blue line, not only below it, but also been below it for over a month now, that's not a good sign, right? We want to see if this bullish divergence does play out, right? This bullish divergence I just talked about, if it does play out, we want to see big volume coming in, big buyers coming in, pushing the price up higher, right? We're going to have resistance level around this blue line because we stayed below it for so long, right? We failed to hold this, and now this support level is now resistance. This blue line, the 200-day is around 43,000, so I expect more resistance around 43,000 and of course around 47,000, which is our Fibonacci support line. Resistance now. It used to be support, right? We failed to hold it. And when we broke below, we flipped it into resistance. So basically all the way up to 50,000 should be really strong resistance. But the fact that there are buyers coming in to buy the price when it dips below 30,000, I do think that there's a strong chance that we will perhaps continue up higher and find buyers to come in and have confidence and push the price higher. Now, another reason why this has been coming down, or a major reason, is of course the hash rate has been dropping, right? Why? Because China is basically cracking down on miners, and so a lot of miners they're actually moving overseas, and so we're seeing a global redistribution of the total hash rate, and I think that this is also going to be great for other companies, right? Which are going to get more of the share of the hash rate. So that's why if you look closely at other miners like Riot and Riot Blockchain and Marathon Digital Holdings, they've actually been going up, you know, like they're up a lot actually. They're up, I believe, 50% over the last month. Yeah, right. Riot, yeah, so about 50% over the last 30 days, even though Bitcoin is coming down. Why? Because even though the hash rate has been going down, and usually the price of Bitcoin will follow the hash rate, right? Because as the hash rate goes up, Bitcoin becomes more secure as a network, and that also means there's more transaction being processed. So this is overall that we want the hash rate to go up, right? Because that just makes Bitcoin even more valuable, right? But the fact is a lot of Chinese miners are shutting down now, but that's really great news for the other miners. So Riot and Mara are also positions I've been in. I've said this many times. I've been buying shares and calls on Riot and Mara, and they've been doing very well. So very happy about that. And I do think that what we're seeing right now in the hash rate plunging is temporary. And I think that when either the Chinese miners, when the mining rigs operations that they shipped overseas gets back up, and also other miners like Riot and Mara, which have ordered a lot of mining equipment, that of course mining equipment is right now being delayed because there's just not enough supply to meet demand. But once they get those set up, there's just going to be more, they're going to be able to mine more Bitcoin as their hashing power goes up, right? So overall, I think that in the short term, this is just a short-term pullback. But as the total hash rate recovers, as more miners get back up, especially the Chinese miners that are relocating, I do think Bitcoin will follow that and reflect the higher hash rate, and we'll see the price go a lot higher. Now, let's get the bigger picture, right? So we talked about the daily chart, but let's get the monthly, because the monthly candle is going to close, and we'll look at a clean chart. The monthly candle is going to close in a couple days, right? It's June 28th, and July is going to be a new month. So what I talked about in the past is that what we're seeing here, it looks like very similar to what we saw in 2013, right? We look at this. This is one of my posts on Twitter. By the way, please follow me on Twitter. I try to post as much updates as I can. And anyways, we talked about 2013, we saw 6 consecutive green candles, monthly candles, right? Followed by 2 red candles, and then we saw a green candle, but look at how this candle fell below. It plunged below the previous 2 candles, 2 red candles, so this ended up being a bear trap, which shook a lot of weak hands out, but then buyers came out strong, wicked it up, and then pushed the price even higher by the end of this year, right? And end of 2013, sorry. So I'm thinking maybe there's a chance we can follow a similar pattern, right? 6 consecutive green candles, green monthly candles like we did in 2013, followed by 2 red candles, and it looks like we might, unless like there's strong buying coming in at the end of this month, and we probably will close this month red, which ultimately is not necessarily a bad thing, because if we compare this incredible rise that we've had since October to like mid-April, right? Compare that to 2017 and 2013, we actually front running it. So we're going higher a lot quicker than the previous 2 cycles, except maybe 2013, right? So, but at least we're going a lot higher than 2017. So I think that this pullback is really it's a healthy correction, right? Even though it's 50%, it's not in Bitcoin and crypto, like that's not really that bad. That's just, that's just the usual, volatility. Bitcoin is very volatile, and that volatility it can be scary on the downside, but on the upside, that volatility can bring like really great returns, right? If you're holding Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. Getting back to the monthly chart, even if we do close the month red, I am hopeful, because even though we're not exactly following this fractal pattern, the fact that we're actually defending 30,000, right? I mean, just look at this Fibonacci. We're defending 30,000, which is right on our Fibonacci support level. And we also closed the weekly candle. This looks like a really great reversal hammer reversal pattern, sorry. And what that means is that even though the price was at one point below 30,000, buyers came in strong, pushed the price up higher. So I do think that there's a chance this will reverse this week going into the monthly close, and that will set us up for a more bullish posture going into July and for the remainder of this year. But yeah, if we do end up following the same pattern that we had in 2013, this can go up a lot higher, over 100,000. In my previous video, I talked about how we're technically not in a bear market yet, right? We look at the 2014 and 2018 bear markets. What signaled the start of the bear market was the fact that we broke the 50 simple moving average right here, right? We had to first come down, bounced off of it, try to stay above, but we couldn't stay above, and then plunged below, and then end up going even lower, right? In 2014. 2018 bear market, we came down, bounced again above the 50 weekly, but unfortunately we weren't able to hold it, and so we punched below, and then we ended up going a lot lower, right? So now we're in a critical moment. We're also finding support, and we will likely bounce, but it's not over yet, right? Even though we might see a bounce in the next month or two, it's still possible this could end up being just like we saw in 2018 and 2014. We could end up falling back into a bear market, so we definitely have to keep our eyes out open for that. That's still a possibility. I try to always cover all possibilities, but it does seem like at least in the short term we'll see it bounce higher, and if we can hold that level, we should be able to see Bitcoin, like in 2013, go up a lot higher and in retrospect, this will end up being a mid-cycle top, and we'll see Bitcoin break out above 100,000. So that's what I'm thinking when I look at the chart and then the analysis. So yeah, so going back to the original point of this video is we are currently forming a bullish divergence as opposed to the bearish divergence that we formed earlier this year, right? Price is going down while the oscillators are finally moving back up. So we'll see if this ends up playing out and whether this will predict a breakout to the upside. And definitely follow up in the next video and see if this ends up following through, or whether this was just a false positive and we see if Bitcoin breaks below 30 and down to possibly 20,000. So we'll update you in the next video and see how this all plays out. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it useful, helpful, informative, please like this video, leave a comment below, and subscribe for updates. Appreciate all your support. Thank you again, and have a great